They were just two ordinary people, Alex and Maya, living in a tiny apartment in Denver, barely able to keep up with the rising rent and student loans when they stumbled across a YouTube video that changed everything. The video was about something called Airbnb arbitrage, a concept neither of them had heard before. The idea was simple but genius. Rent a property long-term from a landlord, furnish it nicely, and sublease it as a short-term rental on platforms like Airbnb. You don't need to own a house or a condo. You don't need hundreds of thousands in capital. All you need is hustle, trust, and the ability to sell a vision. The video stuck in Alex's head for days, until finally, one evening over takeout Chinese, he asked Maya, "What if we actually tried this?" She looked up from her dumplings, skeptical but curious. "With what money?" she asked. They had less than $2,000 in savings, and even that was earmarked for emergencies. But something about the idea felt different. It wasn't a get-rich-quick scheme. It wasn't gambling. It was a business model. They decided to research deeply. For 2 months straight, they binged everything they could find on Airbnb arbitrage. YouTube, podcasts, Reddit, even obscure Facebook groups. They created a spreadsheet, mapped out expenses, figured out where the demand was high but competition wasn't overwhelming, and built a pitch deck. The idea was to approach landlords, especially those with vacant apartments, and offer them a deal, guaranteed rent, zero vacancy, and a tenant who would keep the place spotless. After getting rejected 27 times, one landlord finally said yes. It was a 2-bedroom unit in a mid-tier complex in Aurora, Colorado. The landlord had struggled to find good tenants. He was tired of late payments and broken leases. Alex and Maya showed up with printed contracts, a detailed cleaning plan, a noise monitoring policy, and even a small insurance bond. The landlord said, "If you're this serious, I'll give you a shot." That, yes, changed everything. With a $1,200 deposit and first month's rent scraped together from selling old electronics, cutting expenses, and borrowing a few hundred from a friend, they signed the lease. Then came the setup. They hunted for furniture on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, and IKEA's clearance section. Every chair, lamp, and coffee table was a treasure. They worked late into the night, assembling furniture, hanging art, and making the place feel like a boutique hotel. They chose neutral colors, cozy textures, and added little welcome touches like a coffee station and local guides. Their listing went live on a Wednesday afternoon. By Friday morning, they had their first booking. A weekend couple's getaway. Then came a business traveler. Then a traveling nurse. Within 2 months, the unit was booked 90% of the time and bringing in nearly double the rent. After cleaning, supplies, and utilities, they were pocketing around $900 a month in profit. But more than the money, it was the validation. The model worked. So they scaled. Slowly but steadily. Their second unit was in the same complex. The landlord, impressed with how well they managed the first unit, offered them a discount on the second. They said yes and applied the same formula. Furnishing, styling, optimizing listings, replying to guests instantly, maintaining top ratings, and reinvesting every dollar. They started using dynamic pricing tools to adjust nightly rates. They hired a local cleaner, Sandra, who became like family. By the end of year 1, they had 3 units and were making more than they had in their day jobs. Alex quit his 9 to 5 as a junior analyst. Maya followed 2 months later. Unit 4 came through a landlord referral. Unit 5 was a risky leap. They signed a lease on a luxury condo downtown with high rent but also high nightly rates. It worked. Today, they manage 5 Airbnbs without owning a single property. Their combined monthly profit? Around $9,500 after expenses. But the money is just part of the story. They now teach others how to do it. They mentor new hosts, speak at local real estate meetups, and run an Instagram account with daily tips. Their biggest lessons? Be transparent with landlords. Treat it like a business, not a hustle. Always over-deliver. And remember, you don't need to own the asset to control the income. Their story isn't about luck. It's about grit, resourcefulness, and seeing opportunity where others saw barriers. They've faced problems, rowdy guests, last-minute cancellations, cleaners canceling, Wi-Fi outages, but each problem became a system. Now, they have automated check-ins, backup cleaners, smart locks, noise sensors, and a virtual assistant who handles messages. They've built freedom, not just income. And it all started with a $1,200 lease on a 2-bedroom unit and a wild belief that maybe, just maybe, there was a smarter way to play the game. They soon learned that success didn't come from copying what others did, but from improving it. Every time something went wrong, it became fuel for better systems. The time the smart lock jammed and a guest was locked out at midnight? That mistake led them to invest in backup lockboxes. When a party got out of hand and neighbors complained, they installed noise monitoring devices and changed their guest screening process. They created a checklist for every turnover, hired a backup cleaner for emergencies, and used automation tools like SmartNB and Hospitable to handle messages and reviews. Maya started handling branding, professional photos, listing descriptions, custom guides for each property. She noticed that listings with cozy names like The Urban Nest or Downtown Escape got more clicks, so she leaned into it. Meanwhile, Alex studied analytics. What pricing worked best on weekends, what cities had seasonal dips, which guests were the most profitable. They weren't just Airbnb hosts anymore, they were hospitality entrepreneurs. And yet, most of their friends didn't get it. Some rolled their eyes, saying, "It's just short-term rentals." Others warned them that it was risky, unstable, a house of cards. But Maya and Alex kept building. They didn't want just income, they wanted freedom. They wanted to travel without asking for time off, to wake up without an alarm, to choose their life. They kept growing, carefully. By year 2, they had 5 units and were clearing nearly $120,000 a year in profit. But instead of spending it, they reinvested. They saved every extra dollar. They built an emergency fund that could cover 3 months of rent for all units, just in case bookings dried up. They took a course on interior design. They read books on negotiations so they could pitch to higher-end landlords with confidence. Their biggest leap came in year 3, when they pitched their first corporate lease to a property management company. They wanted 3 units in a newly built apartment complex in Salt Lake City. The company was skeptical at first. Corporate leases to Airbnb hosts sounded risky. But Alex and Maya came prepared. They showed data, local Airbnb demand, seasonal trends, average daily rate. They showed photos of their existing units and testimonials from landlords. They offered guarantees, insurance, regular inspections, noise monitors, 24/7 guest communication. It worked. They got 3 units in one shot. It was the turning point. Now they could manage 5 Airbnbs from 2 states. Remote management wasn't easy, but they created systems. Smart locks, remote cleaners, automated guest messages, and virtual assistants allowed them to scale without being physically present. They tested furniture vendors, optimized layouts for cleaning speed, and streamlined guest check-in instructions so detailed they included how to adjust the thermostat. Their secret wasn't luck. It was process, consistency, vision. They weren't afraid to take risks, but every risk was calculated. They also learned the art of storytelling, how to craft a listing that didn't just say, 2-bedroom apartment, but bright, plant-filled retreat in the heart of downtown. Maya handled copywriting. Alex optimized the pricing. They split tasks not based on gender roles, but on strengths. She was the aesthetic and communication. He was the analytics and operations. Together, they were a machine. And when the pandemic hit and bookings dropped 80%, they didn't panic. They pivoted. They shifted focus to longer stays, 30 days or more. Traveling nurses, remote workers, relocation clients. They adjusted their pricing, updated their listings, and got through the dip. In fact, it opened their eyes. Short-term rental isn't just about vacationers. There's a whole world of travelers out there, and if you know how to serve them, you win. By the end of that year, their profits returned stronger than ever. And the best part? They still didn't own a single property. No mortgages. No massive debt. Just leases, systems, and sweat equity. Some landlords raised their eyebrows, but others called them before vacancies even hit. They were becoming known in their network as the couple who makes you money and never causes problems. They had landlords who signed 3-year leases with them. others who gave them early access to units before listing them on the market. They began offering staging consultations for other Airbnb hosts. They created templates, checklists, message scripts, design guides. Eventually, they packaged their knowledge into a course, not to get rich from selling info, but to help others start with less guesswork. They posted on TikTok. Their first video flopped. Their second one too. But the fifth video went viral: how we make $10,000 per month on Airbnb without owning property. It exploded. Within a week, they had 12,000 new followers. DMs flooded in. People asked if it was real, if they could really do it too. Maya replied to every message personally. Not because she had to, but because she remembered what it felt like to be stuck at a job, wondering if freedom was real or just something people talked about in books and podcasts. The truth was, it's real. But it takes work. Every success was built on hundreds of small decisions. Staying up late to fix a broken coffee machine. Driving across town to replace a shower curtain. Apologizing to a guest for noise they didn't cause. Smiling through reviews, learning from every one-star moment, celebrating every five-star stay. They now live part-time in Mexico City, running everything from a laptop. Their team handles the rest. What started as a wild idea over Chinese takeout has become a six-figure location-independent business, and all without owning a single square foot of real estate. They're not special, they say. Just consistent. Just willing to start messy, learn fast, and never stop improving.